In this video, you're going to get a great tip and trick on how to work around a very funky raised object during an interior wall film install. We're actually going to begin with the removal of the old wallpaper. Every time I do removal, whether it's on a window, wall, floor, car, I always analyze how the wrap film, or in this case the wallpaper, held up, particularly in tricky areas like this area around the fireplace. And I could see clearly that whoever did the wallpaper install had some major issues around this area. Wallpaper is installed wet. This particular wallpaper was fragile. They tried to make a lot of relief cuts, but it definitely went south, so they lost a lot of quality. So for me, this was a big red flag and a problem to solve. So I was thinking, okay, the material that I'm putting on is very thick as well. It has a super aggressive adhesive, and the paint is very fragile, so I don't want to pick it up. So how do I work around this object cleanly? So what I love about wrapping, especially on the wrap and sew, is we always try to push that basically whatever you're wrapping everything in the same way. Whether it's an antenna, a wall, a floor, a car, you're going to be using the same techniques, the universal graphic installation system that we talk about. That means a lot of solutions for, let's say, the antenna can be brought over to the fireplace. So in 2019, I introduced the contour cutter for working around raised objects on cars, and I thought, well, this antenna and the area around the fireplace are pretty similar in terms of complexity and raised objects. So I thought, you know what, it might work really good here. So after cleaning and prepping this area, put pink on the wall in case it came short. I always like to do that with interior film. I took the contour cutter that I use for car wrapping, let's say door handles and antennas, and plopped it right into this upper portion of the fireplace. Love the lever on the side so it locks firmly in place. And now I take this to a cutting mat, and on a backing paper right now, I trace the shape. Now keep in mind that basically there's a straight edge on the top and a straight edge on the side of the fireplace, and this shape, kind of the contour shape, goes in between. So I always like to have a little bit of play on the ceiling and on the sides. And now I'm going to cut out this liner very, very precisely. So basically I'm taking a few minutes to do this, and the payoff is now, in a sense, I want to take this piece of paper and see how it fits. So always want to kind of just really make sure that you take the time with the scrap to make sure it fits first before going live on your main panel. So here I think it fits really good top to bottom, left to right, so I don't have to make any major adjustments. So now I take that scrap piece that is good to go, and I'm going to draw this on the back of the liner. Keep in mind sometimes you have to mirror the template piece that you put on, so always take a few seconds to think ahead of time. Always in this case give myself a little extra material on the side so it kind of fits in. So you can't be super precise with these pieces. Sometimes I like to give myself a little leeway, as you'll see in a little bit. With that being said, again, contour cutter, template on the piece of the liner right now, draw that on the main piece right now, and then cut everything out. Super sharp knife. You can see that I'm peaking my blade a little bit so it cuts nice and deep. Essentially right now I'm cutting through the liner and the interior wrapping film, which is around 8 mil thick. So very important to peak the blade and make sure it's extra sharp. And boom, now the piece is cut out and good to go. So I'm ready for the install piece, and I have the really complicated shape at the top. I also have a ledge at the bottom, which I'll show how to work around in just a second, but you can see how easily now the piece just kind of forms into this section here. So I spent a little time at the beginning to prep it, but you see the payoff right now is, boom, goes in nice and smooth. And for me, this is definitely worth the effort at the beginning, because for me now, peace of mind. So once I release the liner right there at the top, I can just squeegee it into place. It doesn't make it 100% flat into this area. Again, I talked earlier about having a little bit of extra material to play with, just in case I don't want to come short right now, because if you come short, there's really no picking this panel up and moving it around. So always like to have that little bit of insurance. Now down here I made pretty much a standard relief cut, which is fine on basically a very simple shape like this ledge right now, but not on the complicated one at the top. So that's why I think a contour cut ahead of time is very key. And right now I'm adding very soft heat and warming the film up, and just basically going to contour and form it to this area here. I'm not really stretching it too much, just kind of softening it up so it forms into it. So the surface energy of this wall is super low, and it has a bit of a texture. That's why I like to use a little bit of heat. So once everything's kind of formed to those peaks of the raised object right now, you can see I made a baby relief cut and then basically just formed the film in nice and clean. So again, not pulling and stretching, essentially just relaxing. Application glove is absolutely key here to kind of round those areas. Definitely could use a squeegee, but most squeegees, you know, got those 90-degree turns, don't really conform to that area nice and good. Now click the blade, and with a very sharp blade and a focus cut, basically just putting my knife right in the corner between the wall and the ceiling, cutting away nice and straightforward. Pull it carefully away. Again, this is a very fragile film that I'm working with. Even though it's a matte film in a solid color, it has a bit of a texture, so the chance of it splitting too much is really high, so being super careful. Just pulling the excess film away, and you can see I'm just now forming it perfectly to the shape. Nice, easy, and straightforward. Very easy cut right now. Don't have to remove a lot of excess film thanks to that contour shape. Great stuff. So once I go around that kind of funky shape super slow, I can speed it up on this section. Now keep in mind that I'm going to put a coat of silicone in between the crocodile that's on the main fireplace and the matte finish. And with that, now I can move on to the main piece. So you can see that contour cutter for the wind, sped up the process, avoiding mistakes. Thanks for watching. Justin Pate.